Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Outer Rim Cantina. My name's Alan, and today I'm here to give my spoiler-free review of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Because this is spoiler-free, I'll only be touching on my overall thoughts of the film, and some general things I disliked, and some general things that I liked. I'll have a second spoiler review up on Tuesday, where I'll go into detail about specific things I liked and disliked about the story and plot. But let's get into it, starting with the things I didn't like about the film, the first of which was the pacing. This is a 2.5-hour movie, and I've been saying since Endgame came out that The Rise of Skywalker needed to be 3 hours, and it turns out I was right. There was way too much to try and cram into that 2.5 hours. I mean, the first 30 minutes of the movie gives us more story and plot up front than either The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi did in their entire movies. The story doesn't have any room to breathe, and as you're watching, you just get one big reveal or plot point after the next, with almost no time to actually process what's being revealed, what it means for the sequel trilogy, the Skywalker saga, and just the rest of the movie in general. I think having that extra 30 minutes by extending the movie to 3 hours would have given us just enough room to slow down a bit between all of the major reveals and developments, and allow the audience to process what's going on. All in all, the movie felt way too rushed, and it also gave us way too much information. So not only was it too fast, it was also just too much it was just too many things to take in one movie, even if it was 3 hours. I really think that they should have at least included some of the stuff that they have revealed or brought up in The Rise of Skywalker, either in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, just so there wouldn't be so much condensed into a single movie. The other major thing I dislike about The Rise of Skywalker is that it pretty much guts everything that was set up about Rey's character in the previous two movies in favor of forcing a relation to someone famous and powerful. Of course, I'm not going to say who that person is, because this is a spoiler-free review. I'll talk more in detail about it on Tuesday, but I really do not like what they did with Rey in this movie. It seems to me that they forced in Rey having a relation to someone famous and powerful to appease the angry fanboys online who demanded that Rey be part of some kind of major bloodline. That also ties into what I saw during the Rise of Skywalker press tour, where the actors and others that have been around since the beginning began to retract what they had previously said in 2017 regarding The Last Jedi, again in a vain effort to appease the angry Twitter users. Speaking of Rey, that brings me to my third major complaint about The Rise of Skywalker, and that is they went way too far with Rey's Force powers. I understand that there is a year time jump between 8 and 9, and in that year, Rey has pretty much been doing nothing but reading the ancient Jedi texts and training with Leia, but I think they showed too much and showed it way too fast. Of course, having Rey be a part of that certain famous bloodline could be used to explain why she became so powerful in just that year, but there was just no need to go so overboard with it. That about covers all of my major complaints with the movie, and as I said, I'll be going into more detail about the bloodline reveal and a few other things in my spoiler review on Tuesday if you're interested in that. Overall, I thought the film was a good ending to the sequel trilogy and a satisfying ending to the Skywalker saga. Even though they did something I really do not like with Rey's character, they managed to pull it out in the end to make me not hate the entire movie because of it. We get to see the whole gang of Rey, Finn, Poe, Chewie, 3PO, and BB-8 together on an adventure across the galaxy, which is fun. Bringing in Lando was an interesting move. It wasn't entirely necessary for the story as a whole, but like with the original trilogy, he kinda just showed up and was then actually important for something. The scenes with Leia were very well done and represented both Carrie Fisher and the character of Princess Leia very well. I'm glad they didn't use any kind of CGI like they did with Tarkin and Leia in Rogue One, because I feel like if they did that, it would have in a way ruined the memory of Carrie Fisher and what's so great about her role as our princess. Chewbacca finally gets the credit he deserves, and has a bit of a larger role in this movie than he has in the past, and yes, he finally does get the medal that he deserves. The way they brought back Palpatine and revealed that he has indeed been pulling the strings from the unknown regions this whole time was interesting. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about him being back, but I think they did a good job with it. I will say that no, he's not a clone now, which made me very happy because with what they did to Rey's character combined with making Palps a clone would have most likely ruined the whole film for me, and I probably would have honestly just walked out of the theater at that point if they had actually made Palpatine a clone. Now, speaking of Rey, what I did like about her in this movie was her relationship with Ben Solo. Their arc and the whole Force bond situation was handled very well and gave me at least a satisfying close to their relationship and story. I have seen a few people over on Twitter disagree with that, especially the few hardcore Reylos that I follow, but unless you are a hardcore ride-or-die Reylo, I think you'll be satisfied with Rey and Ben's arc throughout this film. I also really like the expansion of ancient Sith lore that was spread throughout the film. If there's anything I'm a sucker for in Star Wars, it's ancient Jedi and Sith lore, which this film delivered on with Palpatine and what he's been doing in the unknown regions. There were lots of points in the film where I was on the edge of my seat wondering what direction the story was going to take. I will give JJ and Chris Terrio credit for making it a bit harder than usual to guess the plot as it's going along. I'll also give credit to JJ for not making a copy-paste of Return of the Jedi. I think he definitely tried to be in the same headspace as Rian Johnson while writing and directing The Rise of Skywalker, but he still missed the deeper meanings and mythology that Rian captured with The Last Jedi, and 9 definitely didn't have the same impact on me as 8 did. There's really not much more I can say about the film without getting into spoilers. My overall rating would probably be a 7.5 out of 10. It's definitely in my top 5 list for the whole saga, as the ending wrapped things up fairly well in my opinion, but I think right now I still like The Last Jedi better as my favorite sequel trilogy movie. And I also think that, no, this movie definitely will not, quote, bring the fan base together, which in my opinion is a good thing. I think there needs to be discourse and discussion and disagreement around, any Star Wars movie. That's part of what makes Star Wars, the franchise, and the community so special, is that everyone sees something different in the same movie. But I do think that discussion and discourse around this film will be more civil than it has been around The Last Jedi. We'll just have to wait and see, but I certainly hope it is, because from what I've been seeing online, aside from the people who are just completely anti-sequel trilogy or anti-Disney, even the people that really either don't like the film or just weren't that into the film, they are still being, respectful to people who like it. They can still see why somebody might like the film, like me, and so I just think that in the years to come, the discourse around Episode 9 will be a lot better than it has been around Episode 8. If you've been iffy about the sequel trilogy, or weren't the biggest fan of The Last Jedi, I definitely recommend giving The Rise of Skywalker a chance. I went to see it Thursday night with a friend who has never been a complete sequel hater, but definitely is not a fan of The Last Jedi, and he loved Episode 9. So ignore what people say online, and especially the Rotten Tomatoes score, and go see the movie, because there's a good chance that you'll actually enjoy it. As always, I'd love to know your spoiler-free thoughts on Episode 9 down in the comments. If you enjoyed this, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video, as those really do help a small channel like this, and consider subscribing if you want to see more Outer Rim Cantina content in your subscription feeds every week. That's all the time I've got for today. I'll see you back here on Tuesday to talk about Rise of Skywalker spoilers. Until then, may the Force be with you.